Imagine this. The sky is clear, the sun is shining, there's no wind, no storm clouds in sight, and yet chunks of red flesh begin to rain down. Not water, not hail, but meat. On a quiet Kentucky farm in 1876. This is exactly what bewildered a farmer's wife and the neighbors who gathered. What on earth was happening? Welcome to the channel, where we dive deep into strangest chapters of history and bring them alive. If you love stories that make you tilt your head in wonder, hit that subscribe button now, and let's unravel one of America's oddest mysteries together. Let's travel back to March 3rd, 1876, Bath County, Kentucky, near a place called Olympia Springs. The setting: rural farmland, families relying on agriculture and springs for water. Neighbors not far apart, but life steady and modest. That morning, Mrs. Rebecca Crouch, often referred to as Mrs. Crouch, was out on her porch making soap. It was about 11 a.m. to noon, she later said. Bright daylight, a clear sky, nothing unusual in the air. Suddenly, she felt something hit her shoulder. She looked up, but saw nothing in the sky. Moments later, more pieces began to fall, like large snowflakes, except they were fleshy bits, raining around her home. She described it: meat, which looked like beef, fell all around her. The sky was perfectly clear, she said. The pieces varied in size. Most were modest, around 5 by 5 centimeters, roughly 2 by 2 inches, though at least one chunk measured closer to 10 by 10 centimeters, about 4 by 4 inches. Local newspapers of the time, including the New York Times, Mrs. Harrison Gill, sometimes Harrison Gill, in news reports, visited the farm the next day and assessed the scene. She reported meat stuck to fences, scraps on the ground, all across a strip of land approximately 100 yards long by 50 yards wide, roughly 91 by 46 meters, around the Crouch farm. Eyewitnesses claimed the meat had looked fresh when it fell. Some even dared to taste bits. 2 gentlemen reportedly did, and they judged the flavor to resemble venison or mutton, deer or sheep. Within days, the bizarre event captivated national attention. Letters, samples, specimens. Everyone wanted to know, what was this meat, and how did it fall from a clear sky? The moment the world heard about meat falling from the sky, theories sprouted almost as fast as the meat fragments themselves. Let's walk through the major hypotheses, contemporary reactions, and scientific attempts to explain the phenomenon. One early suggestion came from Leopold Brandeis, writing in the Sanitarian. He proposed that the substance was not meat at all, but nostoc, a kind of cyanobacteria, sometimes called star jelly, that when dry lies dormant, then swells into a gelatinous mass after rain, resembling flesh or meat-like blobs. He argued that people had misinterpreted the strange jelly for meat. In that line of thought, what looked like a shower of meat might be the appearance of nostoc, rehydrating and falling. But there's a critical challenge. Mrs. Crouch and others said the sky was clear, with no rain or storm preceding the event. If there had been no precipitation, how could the nostoc have suddenly expanded and fallen? That weakened the explanation. Some speculated more exotic causes, perhaps bits of animal flesh transported by winds or tornadoes or red rain phenomena, carrying blood or meat fragments, or even fish or frogs lofted into the air by powerful updrafts and upspout and dropping elsewhere. But in this specific instance, the lack of atmospheric disturbance, coupled with the location no pond or fish nearby, made such theories less convincing. In the months following the incident, Specimens of the meat were collected, preserved sometimes in glycerin, and distributed to scientists for examination. Early lab work found several interesting clues. Some samples contained lung tissue, cartilage, or muscle fibers. One medical report suggested the structure resembled lung tissue from either a horse or even a human infant, though that was highly controversial. But sample integrity was poor. Many had dried, decayed, or been contaminated by exposure to air, sunlight, bugs, and time. These mixed results made definitive categorization difficult. Some fragments leant toward mammalian flesh, others were ambiguous. Over time, one explanation gained the most traction: vultures, specifically the idea that a flock of vultures, mid-flight, vomited their stomach contents, which then fell back to earth, appearing as a rain of meat. Vultures feed on decaying carcasses, ingesting tissue, bone, cartilage, organs. Their digestive systems are robust, but they often regurgitate partially digested matter in flight, especially when startled or to lighten their load for easier flight. The diversity of tissue types, lung, muscle, cartilage in the specimens is consistent with partial digestion or decomposition of various body parts, rather than neatly butchered meat. The flattened, somewhat dried appearance of many fragments could be explained by the pressure or exposure during descent. Charles Fort, a chronicler of anomalous phenomena, observed that the form of the falling bits matched what might be expected if soft bodily matter were expelled and flattened. A few scientists, including Dr. Louis D. Castenbein in the Louisville Medical News, argued that vulture ejecta was the best explanation for the bizarre diversity of tissue. Modern retrospectives, for example Science Focus, endorsed the vulture theory as the most plausible explanation. However, the vulture hypothesis isn't flawless, and skeptics raise valid objections. Eyewitnesses made no mention of birds circling overhead or any avian disturbance. If dozens of vultures had vomited in flight, some might have been visible. Some local accounts claimed that the volume was enormous, a horse wagon full of meat in total. Could vultures produce that much vomit at once and in such a concentrated area? The meat shower reportedly lasted several minutes and covered a defined rectangular strip 100 by 50 yards. Could a vulture flock maintain synchronized vomiting over that interval and area? If vultures do this occasionally, why don't we see meat showers more often historically or today? Despite these objections, the vulture theory remains dominant in scholarly discussion because it accounts for many known details better than alternatives. Over time, the Kentucky meat shower turned into a kind of legend, a weird footnote in American curious history lore. Yet the story hasn't completely faded. Let's explore some modern threads. In 2024, a preserved fragment of the meat originally collected in 1876 was returned to Kentucky and now exhibited at the Bath County History Museum. The museum embraces the lore, drawing visitors intrigued by this strange event in local history. Also, a sample was held by Transylvania University in Lexington, and researchers have occasionally revisited it for analysis, though definitive identification remains elusive. Modern attempts to resurrect scientific scrutiny face obstacles. The sample is degraded, possibly contaminated, and DNA may no longer be reliable. Recent news mentions that modern DNA testing has been inconclusive in pinpointing which animal, if any, the meat came from. Some locals and professors in Kentucky still note the mystery remains unsolved. The Kentucky meat shower has attracted attention in podcasts, blogs, and weird history circles. Some even joke about meteor showers of meat, imaginative alien interventions, or cosmic pranks. In that regard, it serves as a potent reminder that the line between natural event and weird legend is thin. Today, locals in Bath County lean into this unusual history to boost tourism and cultural curiosity. The event remains a conversation starter. Did it really rain meat? Is a question that draws smiles, shivers, and wonder in equal measure. So, what should we take from this bizarre episode of Meat from the Sky? The historical core is well attested. On March 3, 1876, in rural Kentucky, dozens of meat fragments fell across a defined ground area. Eyewitnesses, local reporting, and preserved specimens corroborate that something extraordinary occurred. The vulture vomit theory stands as the most plausible explanation. Partial digestion, regurgitation in flight, diversity of tissue types. It fits more pieces than alternatives. Yet, it doesn't answer every objection. Volume, duration, no observed birds. Other theories, from nostoc jelly to atmospheric phenomena, are intriguing, but generally fail to accommodate key details: clear sky, fresh appearance, varied tissue. Modern science has tried to revisit the mystery, but sample degradation and inconclusive DNA results have prevented definitive resolution. At its heart, the Great Kentucky Meat Shower reminds us that history occasionally delivers moments that defy easy explanation. Sometimes, the most compelling story is the one left unresolved. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which theory feels most believable to you? Could there be a factor no one has considered yet? Drop your ideas in the comments below. Maybe you'll crack the mystery. If you enjoyed wandering through the weird side of history with me, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep wondering.